Welcome to the #1 friendship podcast in the country. I'm Aaron Karo.
I'm Matt Ritter.
And remember to go to manoftheyearpodcast.com to grab our merch. Guys, Valentine's Day is coming up, so we have a very, very special guest. Maria Avgetides is one of the premier, you know what I'm going to say, the premier matchmaker in America. She has an incredible book called Ask a Matchmaker. Matchmaker Maria's No-Nonsense Guide to Finding Love, coming out May 20th. Pre-order it now. And she also has an amazing podcast called Ask a Matchmaker, which I've been a guest on. And she's also my friend and also my matchmaker. So give it up for Matchmaker Maria.
So many things.
Welcome.
I just want to say you did a really great job pronouncing my last name. Well done.
I'm shocked. We practiced it offline. Like, you got it first time. I'm amazed. I'm blown away.
And you were also technically my first reader of my book.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yes, I have read the book. I didn't know if you wanted me to reveal that. I have read the book, an advanced copy. It's fucking incredible. I've learned a lot. I'm still been thinking about it weeks later. So congratulations. Thank
you. Yeah, you sent me a review after you read it via text, like an audio review, and I screen recorded my phone.
Oh, I sent you a voice memo.
Yeah, you sent me a voice memo and I screen recorded my phone to keep it. I was like, oh, this is heroin. This is my new ASMR. Like,
so
thanks,
if I had sent that to Matt would have just deleted it because he hates voice memos.
Yeah, I'm not a voice memo. I like chit-chatting on the phone. He's avoidant. You know, he doesn't want to spend time on the phone with his friend.
Listen, I'm with you. I hate voice memos too, but I like voice memos when people are talking about me and like how amazing I am.
His voice memos to me are not filled with praise and flattery. That's the difference.
Do you do this when someone sends you a voice memo? You don't listen to it. You just look at the transcription really quick.
He doesn't know how to do that.
I actually didn't know you could do that.
That's what I do.
He's on iOS 12 right now.
Yeah. No, I don't think my phone can do that.
Maria, before we get into it, I know you get this a lot. It's 2025. You're a matchmaker. I still feel like people are like, I can't believe you're a matchmaker. I didn't know that still exists. I've only seen a reality show about it. So what exactly do you do?
I set people up for a living just like my grandmother did, because I'm a 4th generation matchmaker. Of course, though, she was setting up people in her homogeneous community where everyone was Greek and everyone was Orthodox Christian, and they're all from either the same village or adjoining villages. She didn't have to think about like the different ways you could be Jewish and the different ways you could be Christian and like what a vegan is and what a vegetarian is and all the other things. I also get paid in money. My grandmother got paid in like fish, goat, eggs barter system. But the thing that we do share the most is I think that I've said this to Aaron on the phone once. I think we have trauma dumping face where people just tell us their problems right away. We're really good at keeping secrets and using those to our advantage to get people more optimized experiences. And I think ultimately what my grandmother and I both share is that we're community leaders. And essentially, if you're a matchmaker, that is what you do. You're always trying to build community.
Wow.
Aaron, did I touch you? Like your hand is on your chest and you're like,
I don't know why. I
love that. First of all, your grandma's, the bartering in goats. I mean, that could be worth. I don't know what the going rate of could have been very lucrative.
It maybe, especially if you think about my grandmother survived 2 world wars and a famine.
Yeah. People need their matchmakers, even in the dark time.
What's funny is like love doesn't go away in times of duress. Like the dating is different. But the motivation to build community, and that doesn't have to be about love, even like friends, right? It's there. It doesn't go away. And I think it actually, it almost increases, right? Like I think about, the day after 9/11, how we were all or after Sandy, the hurricane. I know I'm like using New York examples, but even in California with the fires, like you do see this sort of community being created. And that is when a lot of friendships and relationships might have either their starting point or their point of inflection of like, are we still going to be friends after this? Or are we going to be still dating after this? Like, you tend to think a little bit more in your core values.
Yeah, I think also when you are faced with mortality and, kind of real life stuff, you
For
go, oh
sure.
man, well, it is a finite time I have here. What do I really want to focus on? Who do I want to spend my time with?
Right.
Maria, you'll appreciate this. When the fires were getting pretty bad, I actually re-downloaded Hinge.
That's
Sure.
hilarious.
Of
I
course
don't
you
even
did.
know why. I was like, well, I'm stuck inside. I need someone to,
Fire
you know.
buddy.
You know, that is so relatable. And you're not the only one who did that. I'm really waiting. I do get access to certain analytics from some of the dating sites. And I am very curious to see the numbers of that week in Southern California. I remember when Hurricane Sandy happened. I was living in Manhattan. I was not in evacuation zone A where I would have to leave. I was, I think, in B or C. But I remember that there was this guy that I had met through a friend, and I didn't want to be alone that night. And I just texted him, like, hey, curfew starts at the time it was like 1 p.m., I think. Like, curfew starts in 2 hours. Do you want to hop on a subway, go to the supermarket together, and like hang out tonight? Not thinking that, like, oh, it's a category 3. Oh, well, it'll be fine. Like, it's not even, who cares? Like, none of us knew what would happen. We did not take, I mean, I remember going to the supermarket with him and buying ice cream. I didn't think I'd have to evacuate my house the next day and then not be in my apartment for the next 10 days. But people do that. It's very relatable what you did, Aaron.
Karo's trying to make those fire babies, the generation of fire babies.
I'm just curious. What do you do with that? My ears perked up. What do you do with that analytic information? What do you do with it?
It's just understanding, like, sociologically, how do people choose, lust or love or romance or distraction. I think though that sort of data is like really interesting to us. I know as like a professional matchmaker, I've been tracking singles since 2008, 2009, and almost all of the data that we collect, like 90% of it is quantifiable. So we can see, for instance, that pre-June 2021, 99% of the people that would join our database, like, which is free, but who would want to be considered as a potential match for any of our clients, 99% of the women that would join would either say yes or no to the question of, do you want kids? And that 1% would be maybe. And we just had the maybe. We had just added maybe like the year before because some people were leaving it blank, but it was yes or no, right? And then June 2021, suddenly you see the data spike up by 45%. So the yeses went from, whatever number it was, it decreased by 45% and it went to maybe. And what happened? So we're like, why, we audit every quarter. So we're seeing this like spike of a big change. Like, there's a change in how people are describing what they want their future to look like, what's going on here. And so, at the end of Q4 of 2021, we're trying to correlate the data of like, okay, when did we start seeing the maybe? And it was right after Roe versus Wade was overturned.
Wow.
And I think when we then started interviewing all of these maybes, by and large, it was always the same answer. If I find the right guy, I'll have kids with him. But, I want to choose, my priority is this. So it's still a yes for a lot of people, but they're adding more to that equation than I think they ever did before.
Wow.
It just changed a lot of behavior.
Matt, we need some friendship analytics.
No, I know. How do we score?
We're the friendship analytics.
Right. I know. No, yeah. How do we got to score? I was thinking about how you said, Matchmaker is, the leader of the community. I just always am, curious of like how you think friends play a role in, helping their friends find somebody. Because obviously I feel like a burden on my shoulders, a boulder, an avalanche on my, I'm holding on my shoulders to get Karo off my dependence list. I've got a kid and another on the way. So, what am I supposed to be doing here?
You got to set boundaries with Aaron. That's the first one.
I didn't ask for any of this.
Okay. I think, to my own personal philosophy, I think a matchmaker's job is not just to be setting people up for love, but just for like their life connections, right? And that does include friendship. I think friendship is a cornerstone to most love relationships, at least in the modern age, because dating is really new in the grand scheme of things. And so because of that, one of the subsidiaries of my company is called Agape Escapes. Is that travel company. Like, we want people to make friends through adventure in Greece, because I'm Greek and I'd rather take you to Greece than Tulum. Although I have taken people to Tulum twice. But I think that there is this sort of, when you're a matchmaker, I think for a lot of people in my industry, we tend to be natural connectors, and a lot of us are extroverted, and a lot of us are planners. And so when you add that into the formula, then we're the people that are setting up brunch, setting up parties for random things. Like, I host a Eurovision watch party every year for the Eurovision song, like for the European Song Contest, which you probably have never heard of because you're two straight men. But it's a big thing. And
oh no, we know Eurovision. We know Eurovision.
That's amazing. So, I used to host like election debate watch parties. One time Jay-Z gave me his private room at the 40/40 Club to host 200 people with open bar to watch Hillary debate Trump. So interesting that I just used her first name and his last name. What does that say about me? Anyway, and so, with that being said, like, I try to find opportunities to get people together. So, like, was my debate watch party a singles event? No, Matchmaker Maria happens to host it. Who are the most people that are going to come out on a Tuesday night at 7? It's going to be a lot of single people. And that is my origin story, right? Like, when I started out before I became a professional matchmaker, I had a corporate job. I was going to grad school. I thought I would go into the Foreign Service. And I thought to myself, I have no friends in New York City. I need to make friends. But if I'm going to make friends, I'm going to be strategic about it, make friends with people who can get me a job one day, because I just took out my first student loans. And I started this thing called #NYCIR. This is because Twitter was new. So, hashtags were it. And create a website. And basically every Thursday, we're going to meet at this hotel lobby bar that had made a deal with us. 2 drinks for, I think it was like $12, which in New York, that's a good deal, right? Cocktails, not beers. And sure enough, like, people would show up. And who am I inviting? I'm inviting people that work at the consulates. I'm inviting people who work at the UN. I'm inviting some of my classmates. I'm inviting professors. I'm starting a whole new friend group with a different purpose, which is get me a job. But in that scenario, someone did get married very quickly, not the kind of timeline that I would ever recommend to anyone, but they did have an oopsie baby on the way. And, the rest is history.
What is the timeline? I did the thing we actually talked about. I think we've talked about this on the pod before. I'm very curious what your thoughts are. And I think it's like age. I think we were joking, like, the older you get, the shorter that timeline is. And like, if you've been married, like, your third marriage, you just meet somebody on a cruise and you get hitched there. But like, what do you think is the appropriate timeline?
It's so funny because that's such a really popular question that I get. And it actually ended up becoming a chapter in my book. But if you are looking for a number, I'm going to say 9 and 9. So like 9 months dating, 9 months engaged, if you were interested in the super highway. But my recommendation is always like, try not to get married until you've hit the 2-year mark together. I do question people who are talking about marriage at 3 months. I think it's perfectly okay to talk about your future and marriage between month 4 and 6. I think for a lot of couples that seem happy in my eyes and that got married, they do talk a lot of the future and what that looks like with that person in it at 6 months. But I think, to me, 9 months feels like a safe number of like 9 months engaged, 9 months until you get married, like 9 months dating, 9 months engaged, if you're on the super highway. I know that there is a rush for a lot of people, especially after a certain age, if you really want to have kids. I understand that. And if you're both that motivated to get married that quickly, go to a couples therapist and maybe your spiritual leader to see if you're truly value aligned. Because the last thing I want is someone to be bringing, life into this world without having to think about, like, can you handle it?
On the other end, by the way, I like the 9 and 9. On the other end, I wanted to ask, what do you think is the upper bound of like reasonable stringing somebody along? Because I just went to a wedding that finally happened after they were dating for 12 years.
So I wish I had the study in front of me, but there is a study that shows that like the longer you wait to get engaged, um, the probability of divorce is quite high, because it seems like it's I don't want to put words in how people feel here in this sort of timeline, but it's like, okay, finally you're doing it, and that does become a little bit resentful. And, it really just depends on, every couple is different, and there's communication patterns, and, maybe they have a sense of humor. I don't know your friends, and I certainly hope they have a sense of humor in the way you just described the wedding. But I feel like there is an upper limit personally. And like, I always tell people, like, if you are over 30 and you are dating someone for more than 6 months and you have yet to talk about your future, or you don't have that comfort, that vulnerability to have a reasonable and realistic conversation about what your future looks like, that's not the person for you. I just don't, I'm not saying that at 6 months you're ready to get married next year. You could get engaged in a year and a half after that, right? I mean, I'll even use myself as a personal example. I think I was dating my husband for 2 years and 2 months when he proposed to me. But I knew at 6 months, I think 6 or 7 months in, like, oh yeah, like this is who I'm spending my life with. Now it's just a matter of him saving up the money, getting his sister married, my sister married. There's like these stupid Greek rules. And then, and then it was my turn, right? So I think that it's not so much about like, when does the marriage happen? It's more about like, when are you having reasonable conversations about your future? Because I think that's, yesterday I spoke to a woman and they've been dating for 15 months. And she brought up at 15 months, like, hey, I want to get married and have kids in the next 3 years, And he was like, I'm not ready for this conversation. You know that this is happening right now. And she's like, okay, and then she called me to ask like if what she said was bad. And I'm like, no, it is completely normal to know. Otherwise you're dating a time thief. And I don't think anyone should be thieving your time.
Mm-hmm.
You should be allowed to go date other people who want to have those conversations.
By the way, to our listeners, make sure to check out Maria's Instagram. We'll plug it. On every Wednesday she does Ask a Matchmaker, where she answers anonymous. They're anonymous questions. Anonymous questions. Say that again.
I know who they're from,
but she knows where they're from, and they're great. So so I was talking about, Matt was making fun of me for the Fire Baby downloading Hinge. I haven't really used it in the past year or two. What is I know you have some strong thoughts about the dating apps. Like, should I be on it, or what should I be doing?
Which is that I do think going out works really well for a lot of people. It's just they don't go out. So I remember reading the statistic once where I think if for every 11 hours you spend online, that's how many physical dates you will go on. Like if you're 11 hours of swiping or messaging will translate to a physical date. And instead of you re-downloading Hinge or Bumble or whatever app you decide to be on, why not download Eventbrite? Why not download Meetup? Why not join a weekly co-ed class where you get to meet other people? Why not? I mean, geez, if I were Aaron Karo in the year of our Lord 2025, I would be hosting Shabbos dinner every Friday night and be like, it doesn't matter. You have to bring a friend. It doesn't have to be a woman, just bring a friend. And as a result, I believe with every cell in my body that in the next 90 days, Aaron would have a girlfriend.
I'm with you. And he rejects a lot of our invites to
That's 12 Shabbos dinners to your wife.
Maria, he rejects a lot of invites to things like that because he thinks they're boring and there's not going to be any single people there.
Okay, I have to interject here. Let's just
this could be like a movie. 12 Shabbos to wedding bells.
I think it would work too.
First of all, I'm very social. I had the most. So what do you mean? Can I make my 2020?
No one's denying that you're social.
But I'm saying I'm out and about at so many different events and meeting.
Are they Jewish oriented events?
I don't care if they're Jewish or not.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Do we need to update my file on the Matchmaker Maria? I said we're culturally Jewish, but as long as they're down with the, they're not, God-fearing, whatever. We'll talk about that offline. But no,
you don't like anyone who fears God. That's what you're saying. Who thinks there's a higher power? You don't like that.
If it's their driving principle, then I don't think we're going to get along that much.
Okay.
But
I think the focus on Shabbos is because it's not just about you being Jewish. It's about attracting people who want to meet someone new and build new connections, new friendships over a meal. Jewish people, just like Greek people, just like Indian people, just like Lebanese people, none of us have the monopoly on family values. We think we do. The reality is, I think our WASP culture is the outlier here. That doesn't do that loud family overbearing mother trope, right? But everyone else does in the rest of the world. And I think by doing something that when you say Shabbos, you immediately know the day, the time, and what's about to happen. No one has to really plan much except for the food, which you get catered from a deli, right? But it's like such an easy way to set up something that happens every Friday for the next 12 weeks.
But I'm sorry, and who is coming to this Shabbat dinner?
You're going to start inviting, you have to invite 5 people, so it's 6 of you. And then they have to all bring, if the 5 can bring a friend, great. If only 5 of them come, that's fine, but they have to bring a friend the following week.
You know what's funny about this, Maria? We do all this stuff for friendship, but Karo doesn't take his own friendship advice for dating. But for example, we had a friend over for dinner. We do a lot of these like intimate dinners. And we had a friend over, and we were just going around the table. I had this really cool thing where I asked everybody to say something they're afraid of saying, and you're in a safe space, something you really want to do, but you're afraid to say it. And this one girl said, "I want to let people know that I'm looking for somebody. I've been afraid to say it." And she said it to the small group, and now it's like out there. I feel like if Karo would put himself out there in the same way that we do for friendship, he would be married.
All right, Matt, again, we have to interject that, he makes these things up. There is not
I'm not doing this to get under your skin here.
There's not a person in our inner circle, middle circle, outer circle that doesn't know that I'm single and looking. Like, I'm not like, oh, Karo wants to date someone. Everybody knows.
But it's easy when you guys, you're so focused on what other people can bring, and instead of like what you can bring, which is an experience. And the fact of the matter is that like no one is asking for people to bring, your best friend. You could bring coworkers, you could bring your producer's cousin. It doesn't matter. Like, I will tell you that even with my husband, I followed my own advice. Okay. And I remember in the months leading up to meeting my husband, you would have thought I was addicted to the Meetup app and the Eventbrite app because I would find anything to do twice a week. I would just go by myself, and it was not to find a man. It was to make friends because I knew that my current friend circle did not have the people I wanted to meet. And sure enough, I did meet 2 women that were absolutely lovely at networking events. One of them would end up working for me. And I really like their boyfriends. So I asked their boyfriends, like I thought their boyfriends, like these 2 women, I liked them because they were really dynamic. They were liberal like me, which was important to me. I saw their husbands, and they were educated and, self-proclaimed feminists. Like, I liked the things that they were showing, and that they admired their girlfriends, that they weren't threatened by them or, whatever other bullshit verb that men will assign to insecurity. And I asked their boyfriends, I said, hey, next time you're out with your friends, I need you to invite me. I didn't ask them to set me up. And a week later, one of them called me and he said, hey, I'm going to be out with friends on Friday. I'm calling you. And I was like, great, where am I going? And he's like, Boston. And I was living in Chelsea. So yeah, I got my ass on Amtrak.com, bought a ticket, went up to Boston. And I met 9 of his friends that night. 5 of them were there with their girlfriends, but 4 of them were single. And one of them would end up being my husband because birds of a feather flock together. And everyone there was pretty similar, kind, smart guys that like strong women. It was amazing. And I guess what I'm trying to say to you here is that like, it has nothing to do with like Matt or like, oh, all of my friends know this. No, you have to make new friends. And then you're going to invite those people to Shabbos. And it doesn't have to be the same people every week. Oh, I don't even understand the.
Well, no, I totally
call
get
it Friday
that.
dinner.
Well, because again, I think that because me and Matt have been like, if I meet someone like a new buddy and his girlfriend, like the gender reverse of you, of course, the first thing I say is any friend, like I'm doing all of that. As I posted in my sort of end of the year recap, I did a bunch of things I'd never do before with people I've never met before. I think just logically, and I think that your recent guest you had on your podcast, Tara, the comedian, going out and doing those things and meetups and network, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't work until it works.
Oh,
So,
sure.
you
But
know,
like,
it's
I
like,
think right now you're so focused on like, I've asked everyone, and it's like, no, it's not about asking. It's like you build it, they will come situation. And what I'm explaining, and I really do hope that this like makes sense, is that like if you create something where you're creating an experience for people to enjoy your personality, enjoy your company, it's a lot easier to tell someone, hey, I'm going to dinner. Do you want to come with me? And not talk about meet my single friend, Aaron.
yeah.
Just let's go have, everyone knows what Shabbos is. So it's like, let's go have Shabbos. Yeah, I like some challah bread. Let's go. Matzah ball it up,
I like the
Um,
idea of Karo, you hosting something. I think what you're saying is right too. Something fun and cool.
like people get to see you. People get to like enjoy your company. And then it's like, ooh, I have a crush on him. I really like him. Like it starts to build on it versus like, think about me when you meet single women.
I think I like everything she's saying, Karo.
Yeah, I mean, again, the for that too. I don't. I'm just playing devil's advocate for because me and Maria have very similar hard-headed personalities, and I say it as a compliment. In that scenario entails a single woman coming to this event, which again, you're saying, well, make a new friend, and that friend has a friend. Like,
No, they don't have
yeah,
to be single. The point is for everyone that does not know you well, that does not know you
See
like
you in a
that,
good light. See
to
you in a cool light.
experience you. So they go to their friends on set. The two things that all women talk about when they meet up for brunch on the weekend is the two D's, dating and dieting. Okay. So someone has a good dinner with you on Friday. They are telling them like, oh my God, I met the most amazing guy. I got to find him someone. Like it has nothing to do with about their status. It's about exhibiting your company to people who don't know you.
I like
Okay.
this. Okay, be reflexive. Karo's
yeah,
be
you're right. Yep, you're right.
reflexive and go, okay, maybe I need to show this people myself in a different way than I've been showing them.
Because I think Aaron is a lot of fun. I think you
Yeah.
get like, I think Aaron would make an incredible husband,
Say, I agree.
right? I think he'd make the best dad. Like,
Totally.
totally believe that. I think, though, that how we're presenting Aaron is incorrect.
Do you mind if I just cut the beginning of that for an Instagram clip?
I don't care. Whatever you want.
I have a question about just relating to friendship because a lot of our listeners, they're probably a lot of them are single. What are your thoughts? I'm just curious what your thoughts are on like, I sometimes people are like, oh, just have them come to this party versus like, oh no, definitely set up that first date. Like, what do you think about? It sounds like you think that's a good idea to sometimes just like meet in a more casual, like this isn't a first date setting.
For
Like,
sure.
come with a group of friends and hang out.
For sure. I think if you it's just like friendships, right? Like it's really hard to set up two people to become friends. Like, oh, you should know each other, and that like a stupid email that people send sometimes. And I'm like, ew, no, like invite us to both to your birthday party or your 4th of July pig roast, and I'll be there, and then I will make a friend. Like, who are you to tell me who I want to be friends with, right? And that maybe that's my own personal bias because most of the times when people do that to me, it's because they're like, she's single, set her up with someone. I'm like, oh, so I'm not getting shit out of this friendship. This sucks, And so yeah, I feel like it's a lot easier if you want to be seen as like the cool person, going into tradition and doing these sort of meetups. I mean, like even just like once a month where you say like, hey, I'm hosting, I don't know if you guys have, I think this is what me and my husband used to do while married. We would invite our married friends and our single friends. Before the pandemic, we used to do every month date night at golf, Top Golf.
Top Golf.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So everyone had to pay $70 and you got 2 hours of Top Golf we would set up into girls versus boys. The girls always won. And it came with beers and food. And, it would get to the point where there'd be like 35 of us. And we're just hanging out, having fun. And some people would be single and some people would be non. And we're all just kind of like talking to each other for 2.5 hours. And that just every 14th of the month, we did that. Could be on a Monday, could be on a Sunday. That was just the 14th of the month because Valentine's Day falls on the 14th as well. We gotta do that again. I gotta bring this up to my husband.
Yeah,
we
did a big event. We did a friendship thing at Topgolf. We were on the Today Show at Topgolf.
Did you love it?
Yeah, Topgolf is great.
Topgolf is amazing.
I come back for bachelor party. Topgolf is like a really social place.
Yeah. I've always wondered why. I don't know if I've never had the experience where other people from the Bays talk to you, like if other groups are there.
Yeah, we've talked to people in the Bays next to us.
You have?
Yeah.
I've never had that. I've always wondered. I'm like, oh, I wonder if people talk to each other.
Yeah.
So, and I'll also bowling. Joining a bowling league.
Mm.
You'd be surprised. Those people are social.
Any sort of group activity that involves a little bit of booze and a little bit of moving around, I feel like that's a recipe for good social connection.
For sure.
Maria, we've fought to a draw in round 12. Okay, thank you. This was awesome. I feel like we have to do this every Valentine's Day. Like you'll be our Valentine's guest. That was awesome. Thanks. I had like more friendship stuff and we just went into my personal dating life, which I
still revolved it around friendship and togetherness. And I hope that what I said is a call to action to your listeners that like, if you want to make friends, you also have to build the experience for friendship. It doesn't happen out of thin air and it can happen. Like I just told you, how I started my whole career was because I needed to make friends in a city that I was not from. I'm not from Manhattan. I lived there for 10 years, but it all started because I was like, shit, I got to make friends quick because I need a job. And it worked. And it ended up changing my life in this really crazy way because now I'm a matchmaker from that experience. But I had to build that experience. There was no one else was doing what I was asking for, which was like, I just want to network with people who could be my employers over a beer. Please give me that. And it's like, no, you had to be, if I want to talk to I remember this really well. I was like, if I want to talk to the consulate of Panama, I'd have to be Panamese or be traveling to Panama. And I'm like, well, both of these things are not happening to me. So how else can I meet that person? And so it's like, oh, this is how I did it. And also a lot of my classmates that I went to school with, they got jobs through that experience. So it did work for other people. One of my professors married my classmate.
Wow.
Oh, listen, you're a community leader. You're a matchmaker extraordinaire. You're a great friend and a new author.
Thank
you.
You.
One more plug, Ask a Matchmaker, Matchmaker Maria's no-nonsense guide to finding love, May 20th, but pre-order it now and maybe buy it from your independent bookstore if you're going to go get it. And you want to plug any Instagrams or anything like that?
Oh yeah, just follow me on Instagram. I'm Matchmaker Maria. And if you visit the links in my bio, it'll take you to all of the things that I talked about today, which is matchmaking, retreats to Greece, and all the other stuff that I am involved in. And of course, you can pre-order my book, just like Aaron said. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. By the way, I just quickly wanted to say, I forgot to say this. All of my wife's friends were like, oh my God, is that Matchmaker Maria when you came to the show? Like all of them. They were all like, oh my God, how do you know Matchmaker Maria?
I was kind of mortified. I was like mortified. I was kind of like happy and also mortified because I was like, I'm at your show, but there was a line of
people take pictures with you, Maria. It was ridiculous.
It's okay. It's okay. You stole our thunder. It's all good. We loved it.
It was awesome.
That was great. That was great.
Thank you, Maria. And guys, thank you so much for listening. Let me know what you think about what you heard today. And guys,
so great. I love every second of it.
Oh yeah, he loved it.
Always remember, be good to yourself, be good to your friends. Hey Matt, I love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy.